Looking to sharpen your skills, or maybe just shake off a few cold calling fears? Whether you're starting from scratch with zero sales and cold calling experience, or have a bit of experience under your belt, this course was designed to teach you how to both make sales in any industry you're in and cold call the right way from the ground up. Learn the exact mindset, strategies, and techniques that I've used for the past 13 years to build my multi-million-dollar business. All the way from planning ahead before you even pick up the phone to finalizing a deal. By the end of the course, you're going to have an exact framework for your business or your job that's going to allow you to have repeatable sales and cold calling success. I'm an extremely motivated, experienced, and successful salesperson with a passion to teach and educate. My career includes working at prestigious companies, primarily on Wall Street, in addition to joint ventures. I have 13 years of experience in finance and sales, and I've grown my business from nothing to a multi-million-dollar revenue-producing venture. The reality is, these techniques and teachings are very simple, and they can be used for anyone at any level. Now, to make this course relatable and understanding, I'll verbally explain everything, demonstrate examples, as well as role-playing that can be used for all sales situations. And look, no bullcrap, no making things sound better than they actually are, but the exact strategies that I've used for all my sales and cold calling success. Anyone who wants to improve their sales game or become proficient with cold calling, ranging from absolute beginners to experienced salespeople looking to sharpen their skills. Also, check out BigTimeCloser.com and you'll have full access to all of our courses that cover everything from learning about face-to-face sales and more on cold calling. I'm Jonathan Miller, and I came into commission-based sales directly after college roughly 13 years ago. It all started when I played football at Temple University, and after my dreams of playing professionally fell short, I found my new love in sales and looked at this as my NFL. I've taken my relentless work ethic from the football field to helping me become one of the top salespeople in my company, working with Wall Street firms year in and year out. From scratch, with no handouts, I built a multi-million-dollar business all from cold calling and meeting clients while generating millions of commissions along the way. In this course, I'm going to guide you through the entire sales and cold calling process the exact same way I've trained all of my sales reps throughout the years. I'll share the best tips and strategies I've learned, share my knowledge and insight, and get you on your way to becoming the best closers and best business people possible. Intro to cold calling. In this topic, we'll break down the full potential and advantages that cold calling gives you in selling your products and growing your business. Along with that, you'll learn the very simple formula it takes to close thousands of future deals. What is cold calling? I'll never forget this analogy from the CEO of the first sales company I worked for. Every single morning without missing a day, he'd hold a meeting with our office that consisted of over 200 reps. Now, if you could imagine a true cult leader rallying and energizing his people, that's exactly what this guy did. One day he said, and by the way, he's yelling, but with this stern energy of excitement. He said, "Everyone, look at your phones." That right there is a slot machine. Every time you dial, you're pulling the lever at the casinos. Now you pull that lever 500 times a day, and I promise you will hit the jackpot. This, my friends, is cold calling. To pull that lever and call prospects to meet face to face, or for them to buy your products over the phone that you know for a fact can benefit them, make their lives better, and in return, you make more sales. Cold calling is introducing yourself and your company to your prospect while explaining the benefits your products are going to bring them. The thing is this, obviously we believe our products are the most beneficial things in the world, so that's exactly how we need to come across. When we pick up the phone to do this, we're not just reciting words. We're expressing this with passion. It's full of emotion and conviction. And at this moment, this one single moment, nothing else in the world matters, other than our prospects knowing the full value of what we offer. And other than your script, they need to hear in your voice that what you offer is as real as anything can get and is a must-have. Now with this mindset and sticking to everything we teach in these lessons, I promise you'll definitely be able to sell anything to anyone. And of course, you're only doing this for the benefit of your clients and to grow your business. So should you be cold calling? I hear this question asked quite a bit. Should I be cold calling? I sell books. Can I cold call books? I sell machinery, or I want to sell websites. Whatever it is. Then my all-time favorite is, isn't cold calling dead? To answer that question, if you're even thinking about cold calling, then you probably should. And here's the thing. Essentially, cold calling is just another means of communication, just like messaging or email. Except cold calling gives you the opportunity to be a bit more personable and actually know if someone's listening to you or not. Unlike email or messaging where you'll just get left unread. And I think we all know how that feels. With cold calling, you can literally travel anywhere in the world, across any continent, any country, any city, and present your product to dozens of people all within hours just by being in your office or at home and using your phone. The true benefit of cold calling is it's efficient. There's no other medium of communication where you can reach as many people as possible in a certain time frame while being able to maintain a personable level of communication. So whether you're trying to actually sell your products over the phone or just set up appointments to meet face-to-face, by adding cold calling to your arsenal, you will be able to generate substantially higher volumes of business, referrals, and goodwill if done right. So here's a short answer. Yes, unbiasedly, you should 100% absolutely give cold calling a shot. And just to quickly add, some of the biggest companies in the world cold call. Microsoft, IBM, companies that we've all at least tried once. Uber, Seamless, every real estate and financial firm on the planet. Groupon actually started their business by cold calling before they had anything set up. Multi-billion-dollar deals are done over the phone. People make multi-million-dollar deals, purchases over the phone every single day, all through cold calling. My point is, don't doubt yourself. Realistically, it can be your company next. Now, with that out of the way, let's quickly cover some common misconceptions and debunk some silly myths before moving on. So I want to use this time just to drill down on some very common but very wrong misconceptions and myths. First one, cold calling is dead. Negative. I'm pretty sure I've seen hundreds of blog posts every year for the last 13 years with the same exact headline. Most of them were selling digital marketing services, so go figure. Nothing can beat human-to-human interaction, which is why a lot of companies that offer services will set up onboarding calls right after you sign up. And look, if online dating is considered normal, then so is cold calling a stranger to meet up for a good business deal. Next misconception, only extroverts succeed in sales. Again, negative. As a matter of fact, some of the most successful people I've come across in the sales industry were pretty introverted. To give you an idea, my partner that I worked with in the trenches on growing a business all through cold calling, growing up, he was an extremely quiet kid, loved programming, he'd always thought he'd end up in that field. Never had many friends, barely left home. In fact, he used to spend summer vacations at home, pretty much glued to his computer, either playing World of Warcraft or learning how to program. Long story short, he ended up being one of the best performers that I've come across in the sales industry. My point is, successful cold calling is not about being loud or gregarious, but rather having a system in place that works and consistently working that system, which is exactly what we'll cover. Another misconception, people hate getting called. I'm not gonna say negative on this one. Sure, some people do get annoyed. Just like with ads on a YouTube video, pop-up ads on the internet, or commercial breaks on TV. But if you have a product that really benefits the people you're calling, you'll realize that some of those same people might actually be grateful for your call. And look, cold calling is just like any other form of advertisement. And to put it in perspective, 80% of my client base started with an introductory phone call from me. The other 20% are referrals. I've had clients stick around with me for over 10 years, built very close relationships with a lot of them, all from a quick phone call they weren't expecting. Another misconception, cold calling is a numbers game. And I know you've definitely heard this one before. Keep dialing, it's a numbers game. Or cold calling is a contact sport, just keep at it. It's always oversimplified, so I'm gonna break it down for you. Know your numbers, know your closing rate, know your contact rate, cold lead to warm lead / prospect rate. You should be writing every single thing down daily. Over time, if you see you're consistently closing 10% of your warm leads, then you know that you need roughly 10 warm leads, qualified prospects, to close a deal. That's when it becomes a numbers game. And obviously, you should try and improve your closing rate and any other measurable statistic that you have control over. But look at your cold calling as a business. You should know every statistic possible about your calls. You should be able to predict future revenue based on your data alone, just like any other business would. So why am I teaching this course? Aside from the reps that I would hire and train, there were so many times junior reps from other teams would come up to me on the side and ask for help or suggestions, rather than ask the people that hired them. Now, I was always happy to help and give my advice, but it came to a point where I noticed how I communicated with reps was way different than other instructors. Being that I played football my entire life and in college, I had a lot of experience with coaches. Whether it was big or small mistakes, some coaches would yell and go absolutely crazy whenever a player messed up. I saw so many athletes not live up to their potential because they never grew into their full confidence in fear of being publicly humiliated. On the other hand, there were a small few coaches that would simply speak to you rather than yell, but still demand your full attention. If you did something wrong, they'd calmly tell you why it was wrong so you don't do it again and tell you the proper way to do things moving forward. And as you notice the positive results, then why ever turn back? This is the way I preferred helping my reps. And I would see amazing results and a huge increase in confidence versus how others were being helped. So eventually I said to myself, I need to put these lessons, these instructions in a field manual so salespeople everywhere that need help can pragmatically take these lessons and apply them to all situations. So I was lucky enough to have been taught sales the right way, and the fact that I can effectively and positively help others learn the same, why not? And that's exactly why I started this Big Time Closer course. And again, check out BigTimeCloser.com for all of our courses and blogs to help you take your sales to the next level. Drilling down your business. In this topic, we'll dive a little deeper in the understanding of your business, your products, who you should call, and who you should sell to. So, what is your business? What are you selling? Before we start, let me just share the #1 law of cold calling. Don't expect to sell to everyone. Not everyone will be a customer, but anyone could be a potential lead. I'm going to repeat. Not everyone will be a customer, but anyone could be a potential lead. And yes, there's a significant difference. You need to figure out early on who your ideal customer is. And this is why it's vital that you know who you are and what you offer. For example, if you're selling website design services, are you going to try to sell your product to someone who has a beautifully designed, responsive, converting website? Or someone who has no clue what a website is and honestly doesn't need one? Or someone looking to create a new website with all the bells and whistles but doesn't have the money to invest in it? Maybe you want to deal with a specific industry, such as the financial industry. So this way, you wouldn't be calling contractors or restaurants. Perhaps you only want to deal with more significant customers. Or you only want to service customers that'll net you $500. Do you have a service that's very niche, or is it broader? Do you even know what you're selling? These are the questions you need to answer before you even start. Sometimes, I would see reps that try to sell to anyone that breathes. They may make a lot of sales, but eventually they'll notice it's a massive waste of time because 1, they're selling peanuts, figuratively speaking, of course, and 2, they'll get almost no repeat business. Now, I'm not saying if you sell websites, you can't sell to restaurants or gyms or contractors or even the financial industry, but you need to know who you can provide legitimate service for and at a reasonable cost for you and them. So drilling down your exact customer is essential. What I just described is what's called qualifying. Another quick way to think about it is the process of weeding out people or businesses unfit for your services. Qualifying is the cornerstone of any successful cold calling business. Once you finally figured out your ideal customer, congratulations. This is where the real fun begins. Fortunately, when I started out as a rep, I was taught in depth exactly what my industry was, what products we offered, and what particular prospects we targeted that could benefit from our services. Now, if you don't have anyone to walk you through many of these basics, we'll quickly cover them now. The biggest waste of time, and something that can have you going in circles with very little to no results, is cold calling random lists of people in hope to running into qualified buyers. You have to narrow things down to the basics by first knowing what industry you're in order for you to know which industry to target. For example, if you sell car insurance, you'd be wasting all of your time calling people who do not own cars. In other words, you must only call lists of people that can potentially use your product. Now, what is your typical client? Do you even know? You need to know what your ideal client is overall. If you don't know what makes an ideal client, these are the things to look for. Is the prospect willing to buy your product? Has the prospect bought a similar product in the past? Will a product similar to yours be beneficial to your prospect? Can the prospect afford your product? If these questions are all yes, this is your ideal client. And if not, they can still be a typical client. What I mean by that is, the prospect can be unfamiliar with your product, therefore has never purchased anything similar. But after being sold on your idea, they can simply decide to purchase from you anyway. There goes your typical client. If the prospect is a qualified lead, they will see the value in your products. The importance of a qualified lead. We want to stress the importance of qualified leads. When you hear the myths that cold calling doesn't work, that applies when you do not call qualified leads. Just imagine, cold calling a list of low-income communities, the benefits of buying millions of dollars of blue chip stocks from you. Making sales wouldn't be easy, pretty much impossible. Look at it this way. Why would a person who owns a dog buy kitty litter? Yes, it's a dramatic example. When you put it in perspective, it's the same as calling leads that are not qualified. The point is, we have to narrow down things to the specifics of who we're calling in order to make efficient sales. And as I mentioned already, qualified leads are the lifeblood of cold calling. They'll make your life easier, and it's going to allow you to make large amounts of sales. And don't worry, it may take a while to narrow down your ideal client, but that's normal. The sales process. In this topic, you'll learn the importance of having a sales system, how to write an effective script, and making a presentation that's going to take you to the next level. Having a sales system. Okay, now that you drill down your customer and your business, we can start talking about the importance of having a sales system. And it doesn't have to be overly complicated. As a matter of fact, it's pretty simple. Sandler selling, spin selling, whatever you want to call it. At their core, all follow the same general principles. And if you can remember one thing from this lesson, let it be this part. So here's a breakdown of the system, then we'll go in depth with each part. The sales system. 1. Find and create your potential customer list. 2. Call on prospects to qualify. 3. Call back to either set up appointments to meet face-to-face or to close a deal on the phone. 4. Future follow-ups and more sales. Now to sum that up, once you know your target customer base, create a list of names to call, qualify those leads to see if it's a good fit, then call back to close a deal or set up an appointment to meet face-to-face. Now with step 4, future sales and follow-ups, that depends on what business you're in. If you have more products to sell, then great. If not, no problem. Follow up afterwards anyway, answer any questions they may have, and help bring them on board. Our sales process is very simple. We get a targeted list of names, we call through these names to introduce our company, let them know what we're offering, and plan a call back in the short term to make our presentations or to meet face-to-face. Once we schedule a callback or meet in person, we give them our sales pitch and look to make a sale. Having a clearly defined sales system like this gives you a repeatable roadmap to success in closing deals. Once you make your first sale, you should know exactly what to do for the next one and the one after that. And at that point, it's about understanding your numbers, working to improve those numbers, and continuing to prospect and work your sales system. So no matter what industry you're in, the basic principles are always going to apply. The qualification stage. Okay, so let's say you found a targeted list of customers that you want to present your product to. You may figure out that your service is better suited to a specific group of people or companies. Now, even though I've sold to non-business owners and smaller companies, it wasn't until over time that I realized my best clients ended up being business owners with the minimum of 1 to 2 million annual revenue, primarily in a specific industry as well. So I started targeting that group of people specifically. In the beginning, I wouldn't spend too much time analyzing and thinking who's a great fit. After all, just because you found someone who you think is a good fit doesn't mean they actually are. I've seen a lot of newer sales reps make this mistake when starting out. They'll spend weeks, sometimes even longer, just building a list of names before they even call them. It's a huge waste of time. So let's say you spent the day looking for a good list of people and potential customers. You have 300 names and numbers to call through. Right there, you're done with step 1. And quick side note, for companies where you can't find a person's name, call and ask. Hey, this is Jonathan Miller with ABC Designs. It's not a sales call, but I work with business owners in regards to website redesigns. Just wanted to know who's in charge for making these decisions. Okay, great. And when's the best time to call them? Second step is the qualification stage, or some people call it the discovery process. Once you have the phone numbers of who to call, now this is where the fun starts. Another important thing, don't get discouraged if a lot of people hang up on you. Just know that's a good thing, because you're weeding out anyone who's a bad fit. Again, make sure you have specific qualifying questions to make sure that your prospect is a good fit for you and is also willing and capable of potentially buying from you. With that being said, this is why you don't want to waste too much time in the first stage. Just because you kind of have an idea of who your customer is, doesn't mean they're willing to buy from you or even qualified to work with you. For example, let's say you do website redesigns. So you go out there and you look for 100 websites that are designed poorly. You would think they all need a new website because their page is poorly designed, poorly optimized, and they're leaving a ton of money on the table with their website still stuck in the 90s. Now, after calling through all of them, you'll find that maybe 50% of them just don't care for a new website because they get their business elsewhere and they can't even keep up with their current demand. Maybe another 35% just doesn't have the means to invest right now. But maybe 10 to 15% of them are actually looking for a new website and willing to pay to get it done. Now, if those numbers seem scary, imagine calling every company blindly for website redesign. Again, that's why qualifying is so damn important. The qualification pitch. For the qualification pitch, once we're all wrapped up with this, stay for the bonus content at the end, and we'll have a plug-and-play script that you can actually use for qualifying all of your prospects. Important to note, when qualifying and setting appointments, if possible, it's better to lock something in the short term. I'm not saying turn people down that are willing to work with you 6 months or 12 months later, but from my experience, there's just too much time in between for things to go wrong. Here's a few examples of what can go wrong. Another provider can come along with a great deal and they'll completely forget about you. Maybe they told you they weren't doing anything for 6 months, but in month 3, another company comes along with an offer they can't refuse. At this point, you're just a distant memory. I've learned this one the hard way. Now, speaking of distant memory, if you haven't been in touch for those 6 months at all, guess what? They will not remember you. You're gonna need to resell your product all over again. Literally anything can happen. Maybe they're hit with the big tax bill and they need to push things back even further. Maybe their business started to suffer and no longer have a need for your service. Maybe their current provider who was doing poorly when you guys first spoke is doing great now and they have no reason to switch anymore. You're basically giving them a rope to hang you with when setting long-term appointments. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't work because some companies are locked into contracts depending on what you sell. If you can only set up longer-term appointments, you're going to need to stay in contact with them to sell your value. In that case, I keep in touch every other week. Making your presentation. Now that you followed along through the previous steps, this is where the beauty of qualifying your leads comes in. You can now head into your presentation or your meeting and make your offer with the full confidence that what you're offering is necessary and beneficial for your prospects. That alone eliminates a lot of the fear in selling. But just like with qualifying, it doesn't mean everyone's gonna be a closed deal. We'll cover some of these basics now. Just like having a structured sales process, the actual offer, the pitch, whatever you wanna call it, is also structured. What do I mean by that? Basically, don't try and wing it. From beginning to end, you need to have an organized and meaningful way to move customer from point A to point B. Point A being hello. Point B being a closed deal. You're gonna need to know what happens afterwards. The prospect agreed to work with you. Great. Now, are you emailing a contract out? Are you getting a check back? Are you taking credit card information? Do you start working on your services right away before taking a payment? Do you get half your bill paid up front? Unfortunately, the latter part I can't be of much help with. That's something that you need to ultimately decide on. But the main takeaway is you need to know what happens afterwards, and it all needs to be systematic and structured, like you've done it 80 billion times already. Side note, when I would call prospects to confirm face-to-face meetings, being that my company only took checks at the time, I'd tell the prospect to bring a checkbook in case they decided to move forward with anything. No one really uses checks anymore, but at least you get the idea of being prepared to close a deal. Overall, think of the sales process as an assembly line. Start with a blank slate. Get and create a list of leads. Qualify your list. Make the presentation or schedule a meeting and perform follow-ups. We won't get into specifics here on what to say or how to say it. We'll leave that in our big time closer courses. But I will leave you with the basic structure for now that you can follow. Whether you're closing a deal on the phone or meeting someone face to face, here are the steps. The introduction. Remind them who you are and bring up your previous conversation. After pleasantries are made, get to the point, sell your service in a few short sentences, and ask for the order. Selling yourself. Talk a little more in depth about their current situation. Use your last conversation as reference points to figure out where and why they need you. Get more in depth with your services and sell the benefits of using your service and products. Give them the opportunity to agree that this makes sense for them and ask for the order. Building comfort phase. By this point, they know a little bit about you, but a lot more about your service. This is your opportunity to make them feel comfortable, not just with your service, but with you. After all, people only buy from people they trust. In this phase, you'll explain how everything works, how simple it is to get started, and how to fund your service. You'll tell them about your experience with other customers, etc. Ask for the order at the end of this phase again. Handling objection phase, reselling yourself and your benefits. So this phase really ties two things together. If the answer is still a no, this is where handling objections and reselling comes into play. But at this point, they already know the main benefits of your product. They know how everything works. It's just a matter of building trust or confidence until the prospect is ready to take action. Wrapping it all up. The only way you get to phase 5 is you get a yes or a commitment on the order. This part is simply taking down all necessary information for you to finalize a deal. Whether it's an address, credit card, email, whatever. Now, prospects still back out over here. If they give you an objection, where do you think you go? Back to phase 4, handle the objection, ask for the commitment again, and come right back to phase 5. Congratulations, you just made it through our introductory course. Don't leave just yet. Next, I have some bonus content on a plug-and-play script for qualifying prospects, how to get past a gatekeeper, and how to leave an effective voicemail. Also, I have a few sources that can help you manage your leads. To learn more about everything we discussed and for more advanced courses, including in-depth strategies on face-to-face meetings, sign up to our Big Time Closer course at bigtimecloser.com.